Hi everyone, in this video I'll show you my technique for doing some loose floral shapes to add to whatever you're doing. You might have a greeting card or an envelope that you feel needs a little something extra. So you can add these little shapes. Many people call these 3-dot flowers, and the reason is you start with 3 dots of some kind of media. You can use paint, you can use watercolor pencil, you can use gouache, just whatever your preference is and whatever you have on hand. One of the things I love about these is you don't really know how they're going to come out and you can't super control them. So I've got some other dots of color here that I put down. I can put down a few more dots of turquoise over here. And let's see, we could use something, maybe over here. So if you're using color pencil, this is an Albrecht Dürer pencil in Magenta. You'll want to just put down some pretty intense amount of pigment there. Then what do we do to get the petals? Well, for that, we're going to use water. And a lot of what you want to do here is let the water do the work. You don't want to over control the petals. It's also nice to have a little something, maybe the water's not super clean that you're using, because it's helpful to see where you're putting it down. So I'm just picking up a little water with some gray there. So let's just look at this piece for a minute. So I'm going to go over here where I've got some color, and I'm going to make almost like triangles on the paper and then rounding them. And then I'm going to just touch the brush to those dots of color. Yeah, so do this any way you like. I mean, you're the boss. Can't really do it wrong. Just do it so that you like it. Here's one way to use these flowers is to add it to a card or something where you've got some calligraphy or lettering. This is brush lettering done with a Zig brush marker and layered with a couple different colors. And the reason I use those markers is they are waterproof. So if I'm doing stuff on here with water, it's not going to activate the ink from the lettering. Now, instead of using the watercolor paint, in this case, I'm going to use the Derwent Inktense pencil. This color is deep violet. The reason I'm using this is I don't want the paint to overwhelm the lettering, or to be too close in color to the lettering. So I'm going to actually also probably put in a little bit of the peacock blue. Do I want the flowers to touch the lettering or not? I'll kind of see what happens. I don't mind if they touch or if they don't touch. I just don't want them being like, like right to the edge or like making a weird tangent. All right, and then maybe a bit of this. So just putting down some dots of color and again, getting some water, maybe with a little tint in it so I can see what I'm doing. And making a triangle, and I must be thinking of that. Maybe I'll just leave them so they're not quite really touching, they're just there. I'll leave myself some room to maneuver later. This these colors are coming out actually kind of more close to the lettering than I expected, so I'm gonna actually not touch the letters. Getting close, okay. Going in to just kind of give it a little frill on the edge there. I like that ragged edge. Anywhere where it looks like it's got like a little fold or something going on. There's a little, if there's little splatters and stuff, that doesn't matter. And maybe come in with a little of that. And kind of just encourage that to kind of flood out there. Okay, so we will let that dry for a little bit. This is dried. This is the one I just showed. I'd actually done this one also, and I felt like the colors were going to be too strongly interfering with the lettering. But as this paint dried, and this was with the watercolors, Quinacridone Magenta and Phthalo Turquoise, and but as they dried, they didn't interfere as much with the lettering as I initially thought. So I'm just going to finish up both versions. I have a couple of these Graphitint pencils, which are somewhat water soluble, and I haven't used them a great deal, but they have a lot of greens, so they're sort of a combination of graphite and pigment. So just kind of go in and add some, you know, suggestions of leaves and stems on here. Let's see. Just, you know, it's very loose and subtle. Just again, just kind of jumping back and forth between things. Kind of whatever feels like it suggests itself. And give that a little water to soften it out. Another thing that's fun is if you have some metallic paints, you can really, you know, kind of even get more elaborate. And so this is a very beautiful set of Fine-Tec Pearlescent colors that my mom sent me as a birthday gift. So wow, this is, I mean, this is just a fabulous paint set with so many colors, so many choices. And what I'd like to use on here is I'm going to use some gold, just to give it a few dots here and there of some gold. So I think I'm going to do this gold. Maybe a little bit of that. I always like to keep one of my other samples nearby to test out stuff before I get too committed. If you're going to do this on the outside of an envelope, you might want to hit it with, after you're done with the addressing, etc., you might want to hit it with a little fixative. All right. Okay, that got a little blobby. That's gonna be all right. Just a little something different. And actually, I like the way this is coming out in sort of little ovals. That's actually kind of a pretty effect. Sort of little oval shapes. I might even need a finer brush to get that just the way I want it. And so, you know, as we started out, it was very, very loose what I was doing. And, you know, basically after a while, it gets more slowed down, a little more detailed. I like to go in and put in some finishing touches. And I love working on multiples because you might do something on one and realize that's really just going to be a wonderful effect to do for one of the others. And you know, you can just fiddle around with these until you get just what you want. There's like a lot more gold going on in here than I planned, and it is like really shining and fun. And the thing with the gold is it's not always going to show up that much. It's really, you know, a matter of where it is in the lighting. So that's one of the things I really like about these Fine-Tec colors is they're, I mean, they can be pretty intense, but they can also be subtle. So, you know, like on this version, I used very little of it, little small dots, and then with these versions, somewhat larger. And then these were our initial experiment pages. You know, they're fun. It's actually, you know, a lot of times, you know, what you're doing as an experiment can come out to be more finished than you intended. And that happens a lot with watercolor, because the more loose you are, really the better things come out. So thank you for watching.